Hey friends, Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're well. Another month rolls by and another 2025 reformulation, reimagining, remake of a classic fragrance occurs. This time it is Dolce Gabbana's Light Blue Pour Homme that's getting the plastic surgery with a new bottle, a new style, and a new smell. I feel like this has kicked into crazy overdrive over the past year or so. You guys feel the same way? I mean, reformulations have always been a thing, right? But a lot of times they would just happen behind the scenes and there would be slight tweaks and people would be like, hey, did this change? So I guess to an extent, maybe it's good because they're being more forthcoming about it. Or if you're a pessimist, I guess you could come up with other reasons that they're changing things so often nowadays, but it's happening like crazy. 2024 iterations, 2025 iterations, and I'm guessing it's gonna be the same thing next year. But yeah, today we're gonna be taking a look at the new 2025 version of Light Blue Pour Homme, which is kind of crazy because this one still sells. Dolce Gabbana's Light Blue Pour Homme is not a fragrance that doesn't sell bottles anymore. If that were the case, if it was just, a complete failure nowadays, if it was in its flop era and nobody's picking it up, then maybe it makes sense, right? I don't have the numbers for 2024 yet in terms of best-selling men's fragrances, but in 2023, number 11, the number 11 best-selling men's fragrance. So it's not like it was a complete failure or anything over time anyway, and they had to revitalize it. That's not what happened. So it is kind of crazy to see that this is essentially a top 10 best-selling fragrance that is being changed. So I'll have this one linked in the description in case you want to check it out. Both of these fragrances linked in the description. Let's kick it off by taking a look at the presentation. Presentation. I can say that word. I'm a big boy. Here we have the box. On the front, you have the name of the house, name of the fragrance, size, and concentration. It is Eau de Toilette. I got the 100 ml size, which yes, that is a change from the old one, but we'll get into that more in a second. The box is fuzzy, kind of a velvety feel to it. Up top, you have a DG. On the back, you have the note breakdown, as well as the ingredients. And yes, it is a dumbed down 3-note note breakdown, lemon, rosemary, patchouli. And then on the bottom, your badge code and your barcode. Badge code is B as in boy 24301. And here is the new redesigned bottle. So it is more squared off compared to the original. Does definitely look more modern. Has that kind of frosted glass aesthetic to it. You have the name of the fragrance on the front. The cap color has changed. The cap style has changed as well. You have a DG on top of the cap, sticker with your badge code on the bottom. And as I said before, 100 mils. That's the size I got. So there's 50 and 100, and you will notice that is smaller than the original Light Blue. So this would be the comparable bottle size to this one right here. And in the old one, it was 125 mil, 4.2 ounces. And then the smaller size was 75 mil compared to 50 now. So you are getting 25 mil less for each one of the new bottles. And you can't say it's because, well, the new one is a higher concentration. It's eau de parfum. The old one was eau de toilette, because the new ones are also eau de toilette. So no, you're just straight up getting 25 mil less. Retail price on this is $106 for the 50 mil, $125 for the 100 mil, and that is in US dollars. As of this video, you can still very easily find the original Light Blue at discounters. So it's not like it's suddenly vanished from everywhere, but if you're looking at Macy's and Sephora, places like that, this has already been replaced by this. So what that does mean is if you're looking for the original Light Blue, you're gonna have to shop at discounters. So JOMASHOP, Fragrance Net, Fragrance Buy, all of those discounters, Gift Express has it. Pretty much everybody has it. And speaking about picking this up at discounters, which again, that's gonna be pretty much your best bet, here are a lot of codes that you can use across a number of different discounters to save money on your purchases. Then there's also Gents 10 for Gift Express. JOMASHOP codes work within the JOMASHOP app that can save you some extra money. And then there's also the Perfume Box, Frag Flex, Max Aroma, and more. So use those codes anytime you shop at those websites to save yourself some money. And I will say also, just kind of to put this out there, if you really, really love the original Light Blue Pour Homme, you probably should go ahead and scoop some bottles up before it does end up, in the dust bins of history. And by that, I mean on eBay for like $300, or maybe like $200 is more realistic, probably. And I'm not saying that's gonna happen tomorrow, because it's not. And I'm not saying that's gonna happen a month from now, because it's not. But eventually, this will run dry. And when that happens, you know, it is the cycle of fragrance. People start flipping them for a lot more than what they paid for them. So, but I guess you wouldn't actually have to do that if this is pretty much the same as this. So is it? Well, no, actually it's not. So what are the differences here between the new one and the old one, besides the presentation style? Well, first off, the atomizer. The atomizer is different. Kind of forgot to spray this out before, but let's pretend I didn't. So here is the new light blue, and that may not look like too much from right there, but it is actually a much better atomizer than that one. So yeah, the atomizer is different, the note breakdown is different, mainly in the oversimplification of the note breakdown, but also in the base having patchouli as the standout note here in the new version, whereas in the original version, it was more oak moss, musk, and kind of an aquatic salty feel. And then of course, the difference in the opening with lemon being the go-to note of the new version. So when you first spray these on side by side, the difference is immediately apparent. This isn't one of those things where you can go back and forth and go like, oh, it's pretty much the same, because it's not. And let's just go ahead for science and do a couple sprays over here and a couple sprays over here. And by a couple, I mean 3, because this atomizer is worse. So the original light blue pour homme opens up much sharper. The citrus in there is brighter. It is much zingier. And in the new version, it is smoother citrus. And I would say that the opening between these two is the part where they're most different. You will not get confused about which is which. Like when you smell these one right after the other, you go, oh, okay, yep, the old one is dead because this ain't the same. So as I said, much brighter, much sharper with the opening here in the original light blue. You also get those aromatic notes that come through right alongside the citrus when you first spray it on. The new version has citrus in there. Obviously lemon is the note that they put there right at the top of the box. And you would actually think that it would probably be just as sharp, because lemon is typically the citrus note that comes through with the most potential, I don't know if harshness is the best way to put it, but it cuts through, okay? And yet this one comes across a little green, smoother, less citrus forward. But I would say that for people who think the opening of the original light blue just comes across too like top heavy and kind of potentially a little bit abrasive, even the way that it hits with the citrus and those aromatic notes, they may find this new version to be more appealing off the top. And in testing it and having my wife check it out, she actually prefers the new version much, much more over the old version for that reason. And interestingly enough, she is absolutely in love with fragrances that make heavy use of citrus. So I was thinking, well, maybe the added citrus that kind of comes across in the original will appeal more to her. But no, she actually preferred it here in the new one. Spraying these on side by side, the new version in the opening definitely comes across with more depth. It's a bit heavier than the old version. I would say, unsurprisingly, that the new version is more modernized as well, for what that's worth, because the original version came out in the mid-2000s, like 2007, and it has a little bit of that, you know, smell of the times, right? It's almost 20 years old. And so to an extent, when you smell that one, you can kind of pick up on that. Kind of like when you go back and smell the original Acqua di Gio or something like that. It still works well. Compliment puller, real versatile, all of that stuff. I'm talking about Acqua di Gio Eau de Toilette before the new version of Acqua di Gio Eau de Toilette, because the same thing happened to that's happening right here. But you can go back to that original Acqua di Gio and smell it and be like, yeah, you know, it's kind of got like a flavor of the times, right? And it's kind of the same thing going on here. The way that, as I've said a few times, sharpness hits you off the top with the aromatics working alongside it. It does smell of its time a little bit, but it still works. It still smells good for a lot of people. You also get more of a fresh spiciness that comes out in the original one as well. Don't really get that very much in the new version. You get kind of like this musky, semi-sweet woodiness that comes out in the new version as it starts to dry down. And actually in the like late part of the opening, early part of the mid, the new version has more sweetness than the old version does. The old version still stays very fresh through that transitional point and actually comes across fresher to me than the new version does. So the new version is starting to settle in with a little bit of an underlying woodiness. It still has that rosemary that carries over from the original, so you're still gonna get some of that aromatic flair in there, a little bit of a green touch along the edges, kind of in a similar way to this one, but not as poppy, if that makes sense. It doesn't really like have that same zing. Instead, it's more kind of smoothed out, modernized, the edges taken off, but still has that similar aspect to it. But yeah, overall, this one maintains its freshness for longer, that opening, that kind of aesthetic for longer than this one does. And as they dry, they get a little bit more similar, but there still is a little more sweetness in the new version into the dry down when you compare it to the original. And the original light blue also stays a little more top heavy in the sense that its base notes don't really come out and like make a show of force, right? It's more so that opening, that mid, the aromatics, the kind of marine aspect that it has, the citrus, that's really what makes this fragrance. Not a whole heck of a lot of people are like, oh man, the musk in light blue, oh, insane, right? It's there, but it's not really like the focal point. You still have a little bit of that muskiness in the new version, but the dry down just has more heft to it. A little more woody aspects, like I said, a touch more sweetness as it dries, but definitely less of an impact from the citrus in the new version compared to the old. Less zingy, less bright, but heavier, a little sweeter, more modern, smoother. And easily between these two, off my skin, the new version is stronger. It projects longer, it lasts longer. And part of that is possibly down to the atomizer, because this one, the new one, does work better. Like the old one does not have a fantastic atomizer. I know it probably looks similar on camera, but when you spray these on, you can tell that this is spraying more than this. That being said, I was doing, when testing these side by side, more sprays of the old one to kind of make up for that, like I did just now, 3 sprays over here, 2 over here for this one. But still yet, the new version is stronger. Lasts longer, projects more. So I guess if you wanted to, you could say that that helps make up some of the difference for having a smaller bottle, that it projects a little better. And I think part of that is also down to the time that it's coming out. Like nowadays, a lot of people are putting more of an emphasis on performance. Whereas when this one came out, a fresh fragrance, not being crazy strong or whatever, was much more palatable. People didn't care as much. And obviously it was successful and that success carried on. But for like new versions nowadays, a lot of people are looking for stuff that's stronger, that lasts longer. I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I'm just saying a lot of people are looking for that. So it makes sense that if they're gonna do a new version that they would put more of an emphasis on that, I guess. So as I said earlier, my wife, she likes the new one a lot more than the original version. And truthfully, the original light blue has never been my favorite light blue. If I'm going for a fragrance of this style, probably go with Oh Intense. You know, I think that that one was just kind of a little more what I was looking for. But this one has been so successful, and you can't take anything away from it in terms of that success. But as far as which one I actually like more, it's kind of a split bag to an extent. I feel like the original has a little more character, if that makes any sense. Now you could say, oh, but there's Oh Intense, there's Summer Vibes, there's some of these other ones that have come out after the fact that smell similar to this one, and that has kind of killed off part of that character because it's been, you know, rehashed a number of times. And that would be fair enough if you said that. But still, when you smell it, you know, that's light blue. And part of that character is lost in the new version. Now, as they dry down, they do get more similar, as I mentioned before. So it's not like this is completely 100% different and has nothing in common with this. That's not the case. In the opening, they're quite different. In the mid, they are still different enough that it's pretty easy to tell which is which. But as they dry down, they become more similar to the point where it's like, okay, now we're in familiar territory. But I think that opening specifically is where the original light blue really set out what light blue is. And so that being changed and reworked, that's where part of that character kind of, you know, goes away. And now it's trying to start its own style, its own version of this is what light blue is now. So there's part of me that's like, ah, man, I hate to see a fragrance that has been so instrumental for so many guys out there. You know, a fragrance that for going on 2 decades, so many men have worn and loved and made great memories with, to see that just go, you know, goodbye, jettisoned off into the history of fragrance, I guess. That kind of sucks. But times are changing, right? And it's just gonna keep on happening. And I do think between these two, if this didn't have the pedigree that it has, I would probably choose this one, because it does last longer, it does project more, my wife likes it more, it is more modern, that little extra sweetness it has, the cleaning off of the potential abrasiveness of the opening of the original makes it more wearable, but there is something about the original that just kind of sticks with you, even though I do like the flankers more than that one. So it's a little bittersweet, but the new Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue does smell really, really appealing. And off tester strips, they smell much more similar than they do off skin. That one still has more of the almost like hairspray style of citrus in it, the original one. You know, that kind of like aerosol citrus kind of vibe, but they do smell a little more similar off the tester strip. This is why it's important to spray on skin, kids. Oh, and in terms of seasonality, spring, summer, daytime, right? It's light blue. I mean, you already knew that. Thankfully, the price point at full retail, not crazy, you know, compared to a lot of things coming out nowadays. Just over $100 for a 50 mil, 120 or so for this size right here that I picked up from, where did I get this one? Macy's? Yeah, I got this one from Macy's. No. Dillard's. I got it from Dillard's. I think Dillard's. I think they were the first ones that got it. But there it is, the new light blue. If you were hoping it was the exact same, it's not. It is close enough as it dries down that maybe if you like this one, but you weren't like crazy in love with it, then it's not gonna make a big difference for you. But if you absolutely adore this one, I would pick up a backup bottle. If nothing else, then to have for years down the road, you know, to relive memories or something. I've got some fragrances I keep for that reason. But the new version does smell really nice, and I think that it's probably gonna do just as well, if not better, than this version right here. It's a little bit more, I think, what people are probably looking for nowadays. That'll do it for me, guys. Thank you for hanging with me. This is pretty much everywhere at this point, so if you have a store nearby you, go ahead, stop in, check it out, spray it on your skin, see how it works for you. Thanks for hanging with me. Stay safe out there, take care of yourself. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.